Hey everyone, welcome. If you've ever felt like your belly fat has a mind of its own and just refuses to cooperate, you have come to the right place. Today, we're going to break down a logical, three-phase strategy to finally tackle it, all based on how your body actually works. All right, let's get right into it.
So does this sound familiar to you? You're cutting back on what you eat? You're maybe even hitting the gym more often, but that stubborn fat around your midsection, it just will not budge. I mean, it's one of the biggest frustrations out there, but trust me, there is a very logical reason for it. And more importantly, there's a clear step-by-step path to get past it.
And hey, before we get into that path, if you want more simple, high-protein meal ideas that actually taste amazing, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, share this with a friend who is just tired of all the confusion and needs a real scientific approach, and of course, subscribe for more clear guides on fat loss diets, meal prep, and making macros super simple.
Okay, here's our game plan for today. First, we're gonna figure out why belly fat is so stubborn in the first place. Then, we'll walk through the 3 distinct phases of losing it, from the easy start to breaking through those really annoying plateaus. And finally, we're gonna talk about the most important part, building a sustainable strategy that you can stick with for life. So why is belly fat always the last to leave the party? Well, let me tell you, it's not because you're doing something wrong. So your body loses fat from all over. It's called systemic fat loss, and it just doesn't get to pick and choose where it comes from first. And for most of us, for whatever reason, the belly is just one of the last places the body decides to pull energy from.
So think of it like this. When you're just starting out, say you're above 25% body fat, you'll probably see fat loss from your face, your arms, your legs, kind of all over the place. But it's not until you start getting down to around that 15% mark that the changes around your stomach really start to become obvious. And if you want that super lean, defined look, we're talking 10 to 12%, that's when your body is finally forced to tap into those most stubborn fat stores. The takeaway here is crucial. The leaner you get, the smarter your strategy has to be.
Okay, so let's talk about phase 1. This is the phase that's gonna take you from that higher body fat percentage down to about 15%. And honestly, this is the most straightforward and most encouraging part of the whole journey. Our whole goal here is just to build some solid momentum without getting overwhelmed. In this first phase, you only need to worry about 2 things. That is it. Seriously. Number 1, creating a consistent calorie deficit. And number 2, eating enough protein to make sure you're losing actual fat, not the muscle you've worked for. And I gotta be super clear on this. This does not mean you have to cut out your favorite foods or get rid of all carbs. That's a huge myth. Simplicity is key here. So how do we actually create that deficit? Well, here is a fantastic, super simple starting point. Just take your body weight in pounds and multiply it by a number between 11 and 13. If you're pretty active or a bit younger, use the higher end of that range. If you're a little older or not as active, stick to the lower end. This gives you a really solid daily calorie target to aim for.
Now, this slide is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. To make hitting that calorie target feel like a breeze, you want to fill your plate with these low-density foods. I mean, look at this. For the exact same 200 calories, you could have a tiny little handful of candy or this massive, satisfying bowl of fruit and veggies. Which one do you think is going to keep you feeling full and stop you from snacking later? It's a no-brainer, right?
And this isn't just a theory, you know? There's actual research to back this up. A study from 2019 found that when people simply switched from processed foods to whole foods, they naturally, without even trying, ate about 500 fewer calories a day. And guess what? They lost weight. This simple switch makes being in a deficit feel almost effortless because whole foods just keep you fuller longer.
All right, so for that other piece of the puzzle, protein. Here are 2 simple rules of thumb. If you've got a good amount of body fat to lose, a great target is 1 gram of protein for every centimeter of your height. So if you're 175 centimeters tall, you'll aim for 175 grams of protein. Simple. If you're already a bit on the leaner side, a good minimum is 0.8 grams per pound of your body weight.
Okay. Now for phase 2. And honestly, this is where so many people get frustrated and just give up. This is where you're trying to go from being lean to getting even leaner, from about 15% down to 12%. And at this point, your metabolism has probably adapted a little. You might be feeling hungrier, and your body is more willing to ditch muscle. So this is where precision becomes absolutely non-negotiable.
And this number right here, this is exactly why things get tougher. Research shows that on average, people underestimate how much they eat by a whopping 429 calories a day. Now, in phase 1, you could kind of get away with estimating, but in phase 2, a gap that big is enough to completely wipe out your progress. This is the point where you really have to start tracking your intake with more focus.
So, what do we need to adjust? Well, protein always stays high. Think of it as your muscle insurance policy. The real strategic move here is to lower your dietary fat just a little to around 20-25% of your total calories. Why do we do that? Well, because fat is the most calorie-dense nutrient we have. So by lowering it slightly, we create more room in our calorie budget target for carbs, which are so important for fueling our workouts and, frankly, for keeping hunger from driving us crazy.
And now we're at phase 3, the final push from 12% down into the single digits. Let's just be totally honest here. This phase is tough. It is the most difficult part, both mentally and physically. It takes a level of discipline and consistency that's just on another level from the previous stages. This is where your daily habits are really truly put to the ultimate test.
Look, to get through this phase, there are absolutely no shortcuts. You have to track your calories meticulously. Every single day, you need to rely heavily on high-volume, low-calorie foods, think massive salads, tons of vegetables, just to manage the hunger. And any social event, any meal out, it has to be planned for ahead of time. Consistency is no longer just a good idea, it is a strict requirement.
And all of this brings us to what I think is the most important question of all, defining what success really, truly means for you. Yeah, getting to 10% body fat is a huge accomplishment, but the real question is it a sustainable place for most of us to live year-round?
So let's just be real for a second. Living somewhere between 12 and 15% body fat is a fantastic, sustainable place for most people to be. You'll have great energy, you'll feel strong in the gym, and you'll have the flexibility to go out for dinner with friends without stressing about it. But maintaining 10%, that often means making some big sacrifices in your social life, your energy levels, and even your performance. It's a trade-off, and it's so important that you know that going.
So I want to leave you with this one question. Is your ultimate goal just a number on a chart? Or is it finding that sweet spot where you feel strong, you feel healthy, and you feel confident? A balance that you can actually enjoy and maintain for the rest of your life. Because at the end of the day, the best goal is always the one that serves you long-term. Thanks for joining me today.